What's up? I'm Pastor Bunny of Elevate Church DC. This is Keeping It Real. Our moderator for this today is Reverend Eva Marie Ojo. Welcome, Reverend Ojo.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor Benny, for having me, and good day to all of our viewers. As Pastor Benny said, my name is Eva Marie Ojo. I'm very excited to be your host for part two of Keeping It Real. If you haven't already watched part one, I highly recommend that you watch that video as well, as tonight we will be continuing a conversation that has already started. Before we begin, I would like to ask our panel just to kind of remind everyone of who you are and what generation you represent. And so we'll just start off with Joelle. Will you just kind of remind us who you are and what generation you represent?
Okay, I am Joelle. I'm Generation X. I'm not sure what I said last time, but yeah, that's about it.
Thank you.
My name is Domonique. I represent the millennials.
My name is Isaiah Key. I represent the millennials as well.
All right, two youngsters.
I'm Pastor Bunny. I said, the awesome baby boomers.
We are so excited to have you here with your wisdom and experience. All right, everyone. Just to kind of go ahead and just jump right in. We're not going to waste much time. We're going to get to it. So I'm going to start with Dom and Isaiah. You're the millennials, and I feel like you're the youngest, and then we'll just work our way upward from there. But the question is, what do you think is your generation, so specifically your generation, what do you think is your generation's role in the change that is needed today?
I think we're the new leaders. The basket is in our court now. You know, we had our generations before us. They paved the way for us. Now the door is open for us to take that step and actually put it to action. The ball is in our court now. Everything that's happening from the different age spans, as you can see, it's the younger generation that's getting together and putting all of the marches together, the protests, everything that's going on. It's our time now. This is the time for us to step up and say, hey, we were younger kids. We heard about all of this stuff from the history books. We seen everything. We heard our grandparents talking about the marches in Washington, Selma, Alabama. We heard everybody talking about it. Now it's our time. Let us take action now. Now we're the leaders of today. Who's going to be the next Dr. King? Who's going to be the next Malcolm X? Who's going to be the next Barack Obama? Who's going to be the next Reverend Joseph Larry? Who's going to be the next Farrakhan? It's our time right now.
I can tell you mean that from the bottom of your heart. You have so much excitement and so much energy when you talk about that. Dom, do you share in that, like, you know, both of you being millennials, I know that, you know, definitely not, you're not just a one story or one person speaks for the whole generation, but do you share in the thoughts of Isaiah, or do you have differing opinions?
Most definitely. I believe that we saw the mistakes from the baby boomers. We saw the mistakes from the Generation X. So now we have to pave the way for the next generation behind us. So they did the marches, they did the riots, they did the walk across the bridges, they did everything they've done already up until this point. Now it's time for them to understand that it's okay to hand over the torch. It's okay for them to say, okay, we've done it this far. Now we believe in you enough to go ahead and continue the march or continue the race. And for us to continue the race to the next generation. So I believe what I definitely agree with Isaiah wholeheartedly. Like, who's going to be next up? Who's the next, leaders of today or tomorrow?
So that's very interesting to hear both of you say that. And Joel and Bunny, I'm going to ask you just to hold on for a whole moment. I'm going to give you a chance to respond, especially when he said mistakes of the baby boomers. I saw you spunk up. I'm going to give you a moment. But before we come to you, I just want to kind of circle back to Isaiah and Dom. You talked about what your generation's role is. Out of curiosity, why do you specifically think it is your generation's responsibility to take the lead? Why do you think it is your turn to kind of bear the mantle?
I say that because who else is going to do it? And I say who else is going to do it because they had their eras of trial and tribulations. we have ours with, it kind of like history repeats itself. So now we are in a space in a time where we have to hold up like the bloodstained banner and keep it moving. We're going through trials and tribulation with the police brutality and the injustice and everything that's going on now. So we are experiencing the same thing that they have experienced, but I think it's it's deeper than, it's more like real, instead of like they had the fire hoses, they had the water hoses, they had, the dogs. Now we have people getting pulled out their cars and getting shot for no reason, or people busting in your apartment and getting shot for no reason. So now we have to worry about just driving our cars or walking down the street or even sitting in our homes without doing anything wrong. So it's more of, it's like, it's our time to really show, like, we have to make sure that we're growing leaders, and we are leaders for the next generation. Because when we're gone, dead and gone, who are those leaders in the next generation? We have to show the next generation that this race cannot end until there is justice for all. And all, we say Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. All lives won't matter until Black Lives Matter. So yeah.
Well said, well said. And I feel the exact same way. I think that the reason why it's our time now is because of Trayvon Martin and because of Freddie Gray. Like everybody from Ferguson, Missouri, to all the actions that happened, Sandra Bland. This is our time. Though, if you think about it, that was our generational era. That was them coming at us, trying to take us. I feel like they were trying to take us out. The next generation, they were trying to take us out. And that's why it's our time now to take that stand and be the leaders now. We sat back too long. We were watching. We saw the examples, just as he said. We saw the examples. Now it's our time. Now it's our time to step up and lead at the forefront now.
Thank you for sharing. I want to zoom over to our Generation Xer. And so, Joel, could you kind of tell us, when you're listening to them, so this is going to be a multiple part question for you. So one, what do you think is, your Generation X? What is your responsibility in this? But as you listen to these very energetic young millennials, like what do you feel, and what would you like to say to them, speaking as a Generation Xer to a millennial?
Well, I would start off by saying that I think that it is our responsibility to be an example for the next generation, and I don't feel like we actually have done that well. And part of the reason why I think is because we actually didn't have to experience the same things. Well, we did in a way, but I think that now things have gotten a lot more heated now. There's a lot more examples of it. There's social media that's making it more known, more visible. And so I think that we didn't have to deal with it on the same level that the current generation has to deal with it. And so in a way, it was a little bit hard to be an example for something that was not as prevalent as it is now. But I think that what we can do is try to support the next generation in going forward and trying to be an example of, or at least be supportive of the cause that they have now to take care of.
Thank you for that. Pastor Bunny, I know I made you wait a long time, and I know you have a lot to say. Before you attack the, well, I won't say attack the statement, before you address the baby boomer mistake statement, before you address that, please address first, what is your generation's role in the process? And then feel free to address anything after that.
Okay. Yeah, because I was a little upset about that. But I think that one of the things that we could share is our experiences and the things that we went through over the years with the civil rights movement and the marches and all the things that they talked about, and just share what we did to keep the movement going for the time that we did. One of the things that I think is very important is that we don't do just one little thing here, one little thing there, but that we keep a movement going so that people know we are not going to stop. We're not going to be moved. We want change. We want to make sure that people are held accountable for the things that are happening. We, even though, and right now we can see it. Back in my day, you couldn't really see it because we didn't have social media like we had. We had the lynchings and the things like that, where you all have people dragging you out of your cars and your houses and shooting you down. We had the lynchings back in those days. But I think that the baby boomers should also be willing to share in some of the cause. Maybe we can do some of the communications or, administrative work to help the information go out to say, hey, support this, move on this. Let's try to get this law changed. Let's see what we can do here. And I think the baby boomers can do that to help the movement. We need to also encourage the church to continue the movement that the church should be in. The church should be in this movement as well. We are told to be able to not have any racial inequality or injustice. That's what the church is told. So we as a church should also move forward in helping the millennials, the Gen Xers, any of the other generations that are coming behind, the Gen Zs behind us, to know that we are in this together to change and to be the people that the church, that God has called us to be. We're all equal. We're all a part of one body, and we need to be able to show that. In terms of the mistakes, now wait a minute, hold up. In our time, those were not mistakes. Everybody makes some mistakes, but I think that what we probably could have done a little more was keep the movement going so that when you see it coming, you know that there's a movement that's continuing and you just take on the new mantle of that movement and move it forward on the things that are happening to you. I think we kind of we dealt with some issues that we needed to deal with and just kind of let them kind of slide a little bit. And maybe we could have moved a little more forward with helping the Gen Xers move forward. And then the Gen Xers could help the millennials move forward if we kept the movement going. So I'm hoping that the millennials that are coming up, that they are going to keep the movement going and let people know that we are not going to tolerate this racial injustice, the inequality among all of us. We are all equal. We have the same color blood. And so I'm hoping that we can work together to continue the movement going and show what needs to happen and support the millennials as they move forward in that as well.
Thank you for that. Thank you for addressing and not attacking. I do have a follow-up question for Joel and Pastor Bunny. Both Isaiah and Dom were very, very clear that they do feel like the next leader needs to come from the millennial generation. And it also sounded like from from Pastor Bunny and Joel that the two of you were like, yes, our generations need to support, need to raise up. It's interesting to me that, Pastor Bunny, you didn't say, well, the next leader could be a baby boomer. And it's very interesting to me that, Joel, you didn't say, well, no, the next leader should be a Generation Xer. Why did you not think that the next leader should come from your generation? And if you do believe that the next generation, the next leader should specifically come from the millennial generation, why is that?
I think if we're encouraging leadership, we should allow that leadership to go to come on from younger folks. I think that the young folks are experiencing this stuff now more than ever, and I think that we need to encourage them to fight against the things that are affecting them today more than it's probably not affecting me as much. It hurts me to see, because I look and I'll say, hey, be careful out there, be careful how you talk. I experience some of it as well, but I'm hoping that the younger people will say, we will not tolerate this and we will do this to make this better for all of us. And I think that we have got to you know, some of us older folks would like to say, well, we'd like to do it our way. No, we need to hand it over, give it to the younger folks, and let them say, we're taking this mantle on and we're going to make it better for all of us.
Thank you for that. I really like that. I feel like you definitely have a very biblical approach. I kind of feel like it's that whole thing where he's like, hey, Timothy, don't let anyone despise you because of your youth. I really hear you saying that, you know, if someone like a baby boomer were to take it on, you would be leading from a secondhand experience versus a firsthand experience. And you really want to empower the people who are living it firsthand to take the leadership. I think that's beautiful and biblical. Joelle, what do you think? Because again, you didn't say that the Generation Xers should lead it. You said the Generation Xers should support and help train up that millennial. So yeah, what do you think? Why did you not think the leader should come from the Generation X category? Besides that, we're tired and trying to raise children. Whatever reason.
Well, I actually agree with what Pastor Bunny just said, and I think that it's their time, and it's their experience. And so the best way for them to move forward with it is to immerse themselves in the experience, if you will, to not be told what to do or not to have someone else lead them, but to actually take on the challenge themselves and to have support from someone who may think that they know more or think that they, you know, they can do better or whatever. To just have someone from the previous generation give that support that, you know, we have your back. It's your experience and we want you to take it on head on. And of course, to me, in my opinion, the millennials are louder. They have a stronger voice to me than my generation had. Or have. So I think that it's their time.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Thank you both for sharing that. So as we transition into our last question, you kind of addressed it a little bit earlier, Joel, when you were talking about the social media, but outside or even in addition to social media, why do you think it took so long to build this movement that we're kind of now seeing, not just across our country, but even across the world? So I don't know who would like to go first. I guess I've had the millennials in timeout for a whole moment. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for your patience. Let's start with Dom. Why do you think that we're just now seeing this movement? Why is it taking so long?
I believe it's taking so long because we're at home. Like, I believe that the global pandemic that we're dealing with now has given eyesight to the actual problems that we're dealing with as a race, as African Americans. And I say that because, like, if we weren't at home all the time now, we would like bypass this. We would say, oh, another person has died. It will be like something on social media or like your blackout on your social media. But that's it. But now since the global pandemic has happened, we have nothing to do but turn on our TVs and actually sit and watch. And now we're able to do something about it, even though we're supposed to be, social distancing. We can get out there and protest. We can get out there and say, hey, this is wrong. Like, now we see what actually happened. Because if we weren't home, it would just be on TV and we'll see it on the late night news, but nothing will happen. And so we're able to actually see what happened and actually see footage of what happened. And so understanding that, yes, it might have taken, I think it's taken too long for it to happen, but I'm glad that it happened the way it did, because now it kind of puts everybody in the same boat. Okay, now you see exactly what happened. You see what we're going through. You see the treatment. You see the mistreatment. You see how we are being policed or handled as a race or culture, if you may. And so that is, I believe, very, very important. Like, yes, I'm so upset that this pandemic has happened the way it has, but it has opened a lot of eyes to a lot of situations that need to be addressed, not only in America, but the world. Because not just in America is dealing with racism and injustice. So I believe that since this has happened, it's allowed us to open our eyes and see how we are being treated as African Americans all around. Like, it's not just baby boomers, it's not just Generation X, millennials. It's younger people too, like younger than I am, younger than Isaiah. Like, it's just like, wow, like it's really, really happening in our world, in our community. So yeah, I think that's why.
Thank you, Joelle.
I agree with Domonique, what he just said. I think that we've become complacent in a way. Sorry, guys. We've become complacent, again, because my generation did not have to experience things the way that millennials are currently. We may have gone through some things, but it has not been to this degree. And I feel like social media helps to, in a way, it makes the world smaller. It brings things that were so far away from us, together now. We can see things that we haven't seen in the past. And so now some of our news is going, across the world, and people can now relate to us. I think that there was a lack of empathy because people weren't aware or being made aware of what was happening in our world because of the news only like giving one perspective of a topic or a thing or whatever. And so now that we have social media, you can't stop it. It's like a virus now, so when you see things, you can actually become more aware of what's going on around the world. And again, like Domonique was saying, even having to be home now, you have to see everything. You can't avoid it anymore. You're not going off to your job and, living your life or whatever. You're actually in the house and you're being exposed to things that you have not been exposed to in the past. And so I think that now is kind of opening people's eyes. But I think that before that, there was a lot of complacency going on because we had gotten too comfortable. There wasn't a lot happening in order for people to have anything to be, passionate about or to be offended about. So.
Thank you. Generation baby boomer. Why do you think it's taken so long for us to get some world traction on this movement?
I think people are tired of people dying in the streets. I think they're fed up with the lack of accountability. I think they're frustrated with the systemic racism that we're experiencing, and they're seeing it over and over and over again. And I think we have gotten to the point where, yeah, we did those short protests when different people died, but now we have got to move. We've got to step out there. We've got to say this: no more, no mas, can't do it. We must go on and say, make some changes in our laws, make some changes in the way things are happening, make long-standing changes, because we weren't being listened to with the smaller protests. Some little things happen, but now it's like, no, let's all come together. The way to make things change is when a lot of people come together and move forward. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing it's not just in the United States, it's across the world. People are saying, we're not going to take this anymore, and moving forward with that. And I think I think like everybody's talking about the pandemic, I think that frustrated us. And then we have this, it's like, oh no, no more. We're not doing this anymore. So I think that's where this really came in. And I think all people should be a part of this movement to bring about this racial equality that we need across the world.
Thank you. Yeah, you're right. It's that straw that broke the camel's back, that, as they say, one too many things happened at one time, and it was just like, you're right. Like eruption did happen. Mr. Energy, Mr. Isaiah, tell us why do you think it's now? Why is it happening now?
I feel like it was God's timing. And the reason why I say that is because everything that's been going on in the world from before this, like everything with sports, entertainment, everything that we was doing, basically just alone on Sundays, we had basketball games, baseball games, everybody out shopping at the mall. Everything came to a standstill. No movie theaters, no nothing. Everything is at a halt. Everything is on timeout. The whole world is on timeout right now. God said, now I'm going to get your attention and we're going to put focus right where it needs to be at now. Nobody is doing anything now. Everybody is focusing on what's going on with the brutalities. I knew it was real when I seen them protesting in Paris, France about things that are going on over here. When you see that overseas and you see it that they're standing with us, okay, now you really have the attention. Now there really is the focus. The whole world really is all standing on the same issue. Yes, we have some people that say, oh, they feel that we shouldn't be protesting. We always going to have that. The people that feel that in their corner, they're still quote unquote racist. All right, that's cool. Everybody is entitled to what they want to be. But the situation at hand is the lives that you are killing. Yes, all lives matter, just as Domonique said. All lives do matter, but it's the Black lives that are being taken out. So once the whole world can stand still and say, hey, listen, we are all here equal in the same image. Once we all stand still at that, we got the attention that we need. Now it's just, let's push it to the forefront and let's not move from these steps that we've taken. Don't back down. Let's keep going forward. There's no need to go in reverse. We already driving forward. We already at our exit. Let's get there. Let's all get off at the same exit, stand at the same time. Nothing's going to, if we stand divided, we stand united, they can't divide us.
Thank you. Thank you. That's, yeah, I hear you loud and clear. As I've just kind of been listening to y'all, discuss, one of the things that really stood out for me was still this idea of succession planning, right? Of having a leader from this generation. And then I believe maybe Dom mentioned it or someone mentioned also raising up a leader in the Generation Z. Maybe it was Pastor Bunny, Generation Z, the people that are coming behind even Isaiah and Domonique. As we think about that, as we think about, okay, we have the world's attention, the world is standing still, just like Isaiah said, the world is standing still. We are all paused. We are all in our timeout corner. So we have the attention, we have the desire. People are desiring to make a difference and to make their mark. How is it, and I would ask you to speak specifically to your generation, what would you challenge your generation to do, specifically your generation as that's involved in the church? What would you say, hey, baby boomers who are involved in the church, as we develop the next generation, this is what we need to do? Or hey, Gen Xers, or hey, millennials who are involved in the church, for the generation that's coming behind us, this is what we need to do. Just take 2 sentences maybe and just fill in that blank. What is it that you would want to challenge your generation to do next? Bunny looks like she already has an answer, so I'm just going to go ahead. Go ahead, Pastor Bunny. Speak to your generation.
I guess to my generation, I want them to realize that the young people are leaders, and we don't have to stay on top of them for them to lead. Our time has come and gone. We do have some experiences that we can share, but I think that we need to allow them to be able to express themselves, to show their leadership, to give them the resources to do that. I think that's what the baby boomers need to do, is let go and let them do what they need to do and just support them. That's what I would say.
That's beautiful. That is very emotional for me, because I wish, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Joelle, what would you say to the Gen Xers out there?
You know what? It's not an easy question to answer, actually. And let me say this. I think I said that the millennials were louder. I should say passionate. They're very passionate about their beliefs and their causes and stuff like that. And I think that because of that, they're very capable. I think that they're showing that they're very capable of taking this on. And there has to be a next leader. So all you can do is to support those who are coming next, teach and support those who are coming next, so that they can lead correctly. There cannot be one president forever, So it's it's like you have to be able to let someone else come in and do the job next, but your job is to be able to be an example for the one that's coming next. And so, you know, you pass the torch and you instill as much as you can into the generation that's coming next. And I think that they're capable of taking on the job.
Thank you. So I'll start with Dominique and then go to Isaiah. So you heard Pastor Bunny say to her generation, let go. And you heard Joelle say to her generation, teach them. So Dom, what would you say to your generation when it comes to that succession planning and raising up the next leader?
I would first thank the generations that came before me to say that, to know that they have the trust and the capability of passing the torch on. I would say that first. And then I would say to my generation, live and learn so that way we can teach the next generation. I know living is easy, but learning is hard. And so by learning, we are able to teach those hard lessons that we were so hard to learn or were difficult to learn, and teach the next generation. So with this movement that we have, I don't want to say we started, but we pushed forward, passing it on to the next generation to say, this cannot stop because of, if it does, this might happen or this will happen. So I would say that, yeah.
All right, so we have let go, teach, and this cannot stop. Brother Isaiah, what do you want to say to your generation?
I would tell my generation, don't take no for an answer. Don't accept no. If you hear no one time, go 3 times harder. If you hear no again, go 5 times harder. You hear no again, go 7 times harder. You hear no again, go 10 times harder. Same thing with Moses. How many times did he go to Pharaoh saying, let my people go? After a while, he got tired of hearing it and he let him go. Don't take no for an answer. Keep pushing, keep fighting. Yeah, if your fight gets harder, then fight 10 times harder than what you did before. Just keep going up. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't take no for no answer. Keep pushing, keep fighting, keep going. Sweat and tears, keep going through it all, no matter what.
That's why we're letting the young people lead, because that's exciting and exhausting all at the same time. And it takes a special character to be able to keep going even when no's in front of you. That's a good message. That is definitely a good message. So I just want to thank everyone for joining today and just kind of sharing your heart and keeping it real, because that's what we are here to do. And I just look forward to joining with all of you again another time. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you too. Thank you.